I remember driving down the street a number of years ago, and you know how on churches they'll have billboards out front that'll have this marquee sign, right? The marquee sign. Sometimes they stay up for a week or a month. I remember driving down this road and seeing this marquee in front of a church that said, God's delay is not necessarily God's denial. Isn't that beautiful? God's delay is not necessarily God's denial. I love that a lot. Hi, I'm All Faith Minister, Reverend David Essel, and I'm also a Master Life Coach, Addiction Recovery Coach, Motivational Speaker, author. The list goes on and on and on. My head spins sometimes when I think of all the different things that I do, and I feel so blessed. I feel so fortunate. But I love this thought. You know, lots of times in life we pray and we create intention boards and do all these kind of things, and when we don't get what we want at a certain time frame, when we don't find the partner of our dreams, we don't find the job of our dreams, we don't find the money of our dreams, we don't find whatever it is of our dreams, the recovery from an addiction, we think, you know, maybe he's not paying attention to me, maybe he's not hearing me. But God's delay is not necessarily his denial. In other words, many times we have to go through a lot in life, financially, health, relationships, before, if we persevere, before we reach that really beautiful zone that we all hope to achieve. I remember reading an article in the newspaper a number of years ago about a couple that met each other in a nursing home and married at 96. Now think about this, 96 years old. Is this too precious? It was a front page of the newspaper. Huge article on this couple, right? At 96, and the gentleman said, I have never felt the love in my whole life that I feel for this woman, my new wife today. I had to wait 96 years for her. Isn't that incredible? So think about it. God's delay was not necessarily God's denial. This gentleman and this woman waited all that time, but they got it. And if it lasts for a month, a week, a day, a year, or 10 years, they have it. I really love that a lot. Well, let's look at Michael Jordan, that story that's told over and over and over again when he got cut in 9th grade from his high school basketball team. God's delay in him playing basketball was definitely not his denial. Michael had to go back, practice, work hard, and then he became the best basketball player of all times, according to many people. We think about that. God's delay is not necessarily his denial. When we think about people that have always wanted to write a book and it took them 30 years to get their book published finally, or wanted to make $100,000 a year, or whatever the goal is. Maybe they want to make $10,000 a year. You know, maybe it was someone that wanted to always live by the water or in the mountains. The delay of it occurring right now is not necessarily the denial. So I'm going to ask you to hold that faith, hold that thought, hold that concept, and consistently when you get up in the morning, just ask a question. You know, how do you want me? Where do you need me? Because if we ask those questions, we'll eventually get to the most important goals in life. And sometimes they're not the ones we set, they're even better. If I can help you in any way, and don't forget to sign up and become a follower of these YouTube videos as we cover health and relationships and spirituality, love, and more. Go ahead and sign up. They'll be sent directly to your mailbox. And then also, TalkDavid.com is the website. TalkDavid.com if you want to send me an email, ask questions, or just visit and see all the different types of work that we do. I hope you have a magical day. And just remember that. The denial of the goal you have, or the delay, I should say, of the goal that you have right now is not necessarily the denial of that goal. Rock on. I'm David Essel. Bye-bye.